Welcome, everybody. Happy Saturday. I am live. We're live here. And I'm watching the chat to see when everyone can hear and see us. So go ahead and type in and let us know. I see Peggy. Peggy, can you hear us? All right, Patricia says yes, perfect. All right, so we're live and we'll get started shortly. But while we're waiting for everybody to log in and get signed into the chat, type in, let us know where you're joining us from, and let us know if you're new to the exam or you've taken an exam before or where you are in your process. And we'll watch for everybody for a few minutes before we get started. We've got a couple of minutes. We'd like to maybe start a few minutes after. And also, there's a place on is it the bottom right of their screen, David, where they will see it. It's different on ours, where you want to look for the live symbol and make sure that you click on that. Otherwise, you will be running behind. So you'll be seeing the video and the chat running behind. So, all right, so Kate's joining us from Lafayette, and she just passed PX, and then she'll be taking IDIX in October. Great. Arden's coming from Vancouver. Peggy in California. Pittsburgh. All right. And Peggy passed IDFX so far. Great. Manuela's joining us from California. Natalie, good morning from New Jersey. From Toronto, Solwell, IDFX in October. Anybody? Let's get everybody, if you're here and you're watching, let's get everybody to just jump into the chat. Just say hi. Okay. Young, I hope I pronounced that right. It's just getting started with other two in October. She passed FX. Helen. From Charlotte, FX in October. Okay. Yeah, we've had a lot of new last spring and probably again this year, a lot of new people going through the exams for the first time, coming in and starting with IDFX. I seem to notice that we go in cycles where we get a lot of new people, and then you have that group of people that work their way through it, and then you get a lot of new people. Kelly is joining us from Kansas City. People just have saving their IDIX for last. Yeah. All right. So a few minutes past 9. So let's go ahead, Savannah, and we'll get started. And let's go on to our first slide. All right. So when you're studying for the NCIDQ exam, for people who have already started, how many people feel like it's a fire hose of information? How many people feel like this when they're studying?
I certainly did.
Yeah. It's a lot. I noticed that we had a lot of people in the very beginning of our course. Yeah, Natalie says yes. Peggy Ann says yes. A lot of people who are, like the people starting with IDFX particularly, like, oh my gosh, it's so much, I can't do this, all in one. It's just, yeah, it's a lot. When you first look at it, it just feels like this. Or do you feel like you've been up all night studying? Let's go to the next slide. You've been up reading, everything all night, you read the IDRM from cover to cover, and you feel like, that you don't really have anything to show for it. I know some people feel like that. Or are you a newbie? I know we asked before, but how many people are brand new? And you're just getting started. We have some newbies here. And then let's go to the next one. So we all want to feel like we're part of a happy team when we're studying for the exam. Some people have others in their office that are preparing for the exam too. Some people don't, but it doesn't matter who you are. Let's go on to the next one. Because whether you're new, whether you're in the middle of the process, whether you've been working for 10, 15, 20 years and you're just now getting around to taking the exam, you're in the right place. It doesn't really matter. So we have something for everyone. Okay. So let's first talk about what is CIDQ, or who is CIDQ, and just everybody can sit back and relax, and we'll talk about the process and everything that you need to know to get started with the exams, no matter where you are in the process. So CIDQ is the Council for Interior Design Qualification, and that is an organization of different state and provincial regulatory boards across the US and Canada that oversees the practice of interior design. So CIDQ's mission since 1974 is to create, test, and promote guidelines for determining competency in the practice of interior design. And they recently just celebrated their 50th anniversary, and now over 38,000 people have earned their NCIDQ certificate. And they add about 1,000 new certificate holders every year. It's a pretty exclusive group, and it is recognized globally as the gold standard for interior design professionals. So that's about CIDQ. Now I'll tell you about me. My name is Lisa Lee, and I am here today as an ambassador for CIDQ. I passed the NCIDQ exam in 2010, and I founded Q Practice in 2012. And we had our first courses in 2013. And then in 2024, I was honored by my alma mater, Florida State University, for my work with Q Practice. And we have had, since our founding, thousands of happy students across the US and Canada and all around the world. We always have international students every year in our group. So I'm really happy about that we've made ourselves available to anyone, anywhere, anytime who needs to study and prepare for the exam. And I am joined by 2 members of our Q Practice team today. So Savannah is going to be leading our presentation in just a few minutes, and she's an award-winning designer who works in workplace and hospitality and historic preservation, automotive, retail. You've done a lot of different things. You work at Gensler, so you've been exposed to a lot. And she passed her exam in spring 2019, and she used Q Practice, and she's been one of our coaches in this study group since 2020. And David is our customer support manager, and he's a study group coach, and he has a very diverse work background in corporate and commercial and medical, hospitality, government, and retail. And he has previously served on NCIDQ's board of directors. He's been an IIDA chapter president. He's worked with Arizona on their legislative coalition and with GBCI. And he is a 2016 recipient of the CIDQ Louis Tregg Award. And that's what they choose someone each year who's shown support for the profession and lots of volunteer activities. And so he's been very behind the NCIDQ exam for many, many years. So that's who we are. And this is what we're going to go through today. And I'm going to let Savannah take over and she'll walk us through everything.
That's right. So glad to have everyone here today. So what we're going to learn today, we're going to talk about the updated and most current NCIDQ exam news and statistics. Why take the NCIDQ exam? Who can take the exam? How to apply, dates, deadlines, fees, and most notably, the 2026 exam changes, as well as scoring, passing rates, certification and regulation, as well as continuing education, and we'll have some Q&A at the end. So let's first start to talk about some recent news and statistics. So we had a 53% passing rate for IDFX, 61% of people passed for IDPX, and 60% passed for IDIX, or what was formerly known as the practicum. So these are great numbers. However,
yes, and that's from this past spring on the new exam. Yeah.
Yep, exactly. So in spring of 2026, there were 444 new NCIDQ certificate holders. And of those, 358 were Q practice members, or 80%, which is a huge number. So we really are glad to have everyone here, and the numbers speak for themselves. It's working. Okay, so we kind of talked about this a little bit already. Why even take the NCIDQ exam? So type in the chat, let me know your why. We all have our own specific reasons, and it's very important to remember your why when you embark on this journey. As we know, it can be very stressful and there's a lot to learn, but as long as you keep your why in sight, it will make sure to tie you back to your mission. So Lisa, did you have a why?
Let's see a little bit in the chat. You know, how many people are taking it because their job says they have to, or you're taking it because you want to? Let us know. Just watching here. Let's get a little feedback. Is having that why, knowing why you're doing something. Okay, so Amatula wants to be certified. Salwa, she wants most job postings. As for, yeah, and also for somebody who's starting out, you know, as a recent graduate, if you can just show that you're in the process or you're taking or preparing for IDFX and you pass IDFX, you're showing your commitment accordingly. So that's professional commitment. And Kate says this differentiates us from decorators and it makes you a better designer. Natalie says she wants to be among peers who all work for the same goal. Gabrielle says it's a personal goal and she wants to elevate a career. Kayla says my job does require it, or does not require, but encourages it, and I also want to be certified. So a lot of different reasons that people have. You might want to feel more confident. You might want to contribute to your team at work, or you just want to prove it to yourself. Many, many different reasons.
Confidence, I like that. These are great.
Yeah.
Keep adding to the chat. Tell us your why. So NCIDQ is the global standard in interior design credentials. There is no other interior design credential that measures the practitioner's ability to protect the public health, safety, and welfare through their practice, which is so important. And this is truly our responsibility. The NCIDQ exam also proves an individual's ability to understand and apply current codes established to protect public health, safety, and welfare. Earning your NCIDQ credential demonstrates that you have mastered specific core competencies that are verified by your work experience and a college degree. So it really does add to your level of credibility. And having an NCIDQ credential means you can obtain licensure or registration in other locations more easily. CIDQ validates your certification to other jurisdictions, and NCIDQ certification is a requirement for your professional license, registration, or certification in all regulated interior design jurisdictions in the US and Canada, except California. Most government interior design jobs require the NCIDQ credential. So if you're working for a government organization, it's usually required. Okay, so let's talk about jurisdictional regulation. So to practice many types of interior design in regulated jurisdictions, you must be registered, certified, or licensed within that jurisdiction. There is a wide variety of regulations in interior design. We have Title Acts, Practice Acts, and certifications. And now is a great time for you to check with your jurisdiction for the type of interior design you wish to practice. For instance, commercial versus residential, because these requirements can vary. It is also always important to know that even if you hold an NCIDQ certificate, you still need to verify with your state or provincial jurisdiction your title and the requirements to practice.
And it's always changing. There are always more and more new states that are passing legislation. I remember seeing something, just this past week. So check back with CIDQ. They have a great page on their website, and check it from time to time, because they will update it as more information becomes available. Yeah, David just posted Alaska, Utah, Idaho. They've all had legislative successes, and they're not on the map. Yeah, so this is the current one from CIDQ is not even updated to reflect all that stuff, because all of those are fairly recent. Yeah,
they haven't had a chance yet to update it.
Yeah, so I think Alaska was just in the past week or two, right?
Wow.
Yeah, Idaho within the last month. It's basically because most states' legislatures are wrapping up their sessions. I know Massachusetts has had some success. They haven't had legislation yet. So, yeah, it's in the Senate. That's a good deal, because that's something I worked on last century, and it's taken even longer than that for them to get this far. So this is really good. When not too long ago, this map was almost all the colors across the top. Very few states. So get out there and advocate for this.
And this is important too. I'm based in Michigan, and I often will work on projects in other states though. So just because you live in a certain state doesn't mean it's not valuable to also check other jurisdictions that you may be working in too.
That was my comment about it being portable. You keep it, you never have to take the test again. There's like rare exceptions. And it stays with you, as Savannah just said. Anywhere you go, you are an NCIDQ certified designer.
That's right.
It's a big deal.
It is a big deal. And to talk about the fun part, I mean, this is, a big portion of why a lot of people take the test is for salary compensation and recognition. So many designers earn a promotion and a raise when they pass the exam. Professional certifications like NCIDQ, LEED, WELL, or CID have been shown to increase median salaries according to the U.S. Bureau of Labor Statistics. Both the Interior Design Salary Survey by the Interior Designers of Canada and the ASID Compensation and Benefits Report found that respondents with their NCIDQ certification were paid more annually than those who had not attained or pursued their NCIDQ certification. So in addition, the Canadian analysis also compared average salaries with respondents' years of experience in their fields. And regardless of experience level, individuals with the NCIDQ certification had a higher base salary on average than those without, which is incredible. And it's also important to note too, even if you're taking the test, or maybe you've passed one test or two tests, telling that to your employer or prospective employer could also increase your chances of having a higher salary or a raise. So these numbers speak for themselves. Okay, let's talk about the NCIDQ Candidate Handbook. So this handbook is the primary source of information for the NCIDQ exam. So if you have any questions, chances are if you look here first, you'll find an answer. This handbook provides the candidates with everything they need to know to understand the certification process. If you are planning on taking the NCIDQ, you will have to attest to have reading the handbook and be familiar with the policies and procedures. If you don't have this already, we will include the link with our replay. So make sure that you dive into that and get familiar with it. And eligibility requirements. So who can take the NCIDQ exam? Most, or about 75% of candidates, come from a 4-year bachelor's degree with about 60 plus semester credit hours in interior design specific coursework and 2 years of work experience. CIDQ has evolved and established work experience requirements to demonstrate that you can protect the public health, safety, and welfare. We have designated specific areas and hours of practice in various topics. Each candidate must have a work experience verified by a direct supervisor or sponsor before they're eligible to take the IDPX or IDIX exams. So there are 5 pathways to qualify to sit for or write the exam. All require qualified work experience. Review the eligibility routes in the handbook to determine which one you qualify for. So let's talk about each of these paths. For education, you must provide your transcripts that include 60 semester hours or 90 quarter credit hours of interior design coursework. There is also an alternative review program for candidates who have completed their degrees outside of the US and Canada or in a language other than English. Transcripts are translated and evaluated by a third party, such as World Education Services. For work experience, there are varying amounts of work experience hours required depending on the path that you choose. All of your hours must be affirmed by a direct supervisor or sponsor. A direct supervisor and or sponsor must be a design professional defined as someone who meets at least one of the following 3 criteria. So either a NCIDQ certified interior designer or a state, provincial, licensed, registered, or certified interior designer in the US or Canada, or a state, provincial, licensed, registered architect in the US or Canada who provides interior design services, up to about 1,760 hours, essentially. 1 year of interior design work experience may be earned before graduation.
Savannah, one thing about that, earning before you graduate, if it's something that you need for school credit, I believe it doesn't count for your work credit. So if you're required to take an internship, you've got to double check.
So make sure you double check. Okay, for work experience, you must document work experience per specific design phases. So Q Practice is a work experience assessment and an incredible new tool for tracking your experience hours. If you are tracking to determine your eligibility, please let us know at hello@qpractice.com. And we always recommend tracking those earlier. It's very hard to backtrack. We do not recommend that. So definitely check out this tool and let us know if you're tracking. Okay, so the application process. In our handbook, there is a section on the application process, and it is pretty detailed, but please check it out. So first, you will need to create an account. So CIDQ has an application video, which you can view on their website, and we will also include a link in that in our resources along with the replay. Okay, so there's a couple different routes here that you can take. So you can take IDFX first, or you can take all three of the exams at the same time. So if you start while you're finishing your final semester at school or right after you graduate, you can get that first test out of the way. I did this, which I recommend. So you will still need to provide your transcripts, which will need to come directly from the school itself. And then you'll also have to submit your payment via NCIDQ's website. And then you will receive an approval for your application. And then you can pay and schedule your tests. One thing to note too, if you need any accommodations for your testing, you need to apply for that before you schedule your test. You cannot ask for them after your test is scheduled. So, and then you can take and pass your IDFX within 4 testing periods. So if you decide not to do that and take all 3 of them at the same time, then you will have 10 testing periods. And so you will follow the same journey where you will have your work experience verification by your supervisor or sponsor who meets those requirements. You will have the same transcripts that will need to be uploaded. You'll make your payment, you'll get your approval, and then you will pay and schedule your test, which we always recommend to schedule your tests as soon as you can because those slots do fill up fast. In the past, we have had some members have to schedule at different locations because they couldn't get into their testing location during the time that they wanted. So make sure to do that early. But again, with taking all 3 of them at the same time, you will only have 10 testing periods or 5 years to complete those. If you take your IDFX first, you will have 14 total testing periods because you can do that prior to the work experience. Does that make sense to everyone? Please let me know in the chat.
Yeah, I think it's to your advantage, even if you have your work experience, just to take IDFX first, apply, and then get that done. And then you've got the 10 testing periods to get the others done. So.
And Lisa, doesn't the registration period for scheduling your test, doesn't that open July 1st?
Well, that's coming up on the next slide. The dates and deadlines. Yeah.
Great transition.
So for the fall exam, just so long as you get your application in by the end of the month, then you can schedule. But the scheduling window should open up like next week. So
yes.
yeah.
Yep.
So as soon as if you're already approved, you want to schedule as soon as possible. And if you try to schedule and you can't get what you want, do check back later, because they will add sometimes additional slots depending upon the demand. So, and then there's also, we'll talk about it later, but there's also remote options for all 3 tests now. So we will come back to that.
So yeah, make sure you get your date scheduled. I know for myself personally, as soon as I scheduled and locked in my test, I really committed to studying. So I think that really helps make it real. And I think just helps motivate you to really pursue it and hit the ground running. So
yeah, you have your deadline.
Exactly.
So,
Yeah. Okay. So, and then they're only offered in the spring and the fall. And again, these dates typically stay the same each year. But just again, make sure you double check. Okay. So let's talk about fees. The application fee is a one-time fee. So once this is approved, applications are valid for IDFX or 4 exam administrations over 2 years. The IDPX or IDPX and IDIX, or formerly known as PRAC application, or all 3 sections application, is good for 10 exams over 5 years. The exam fee is the fee paid to purchase and schedule an exam for the upcoming testing period. And it's only valid for that specific testing period. NCIDQ certification must be renewed on an annual basis to remain active. Certificate holders will receive their first year free and receive notifications on the following years ahead of their renewal date. So, and check with your employer as well. I know mine will pay for that renewal fee every year for me. And in addition, some firms will pay for study material. Some firms will pay for your fees upfront. With my positions in the past, I paid upfront and then I was reimbursed when I passed the tests. So if you are, working with an employer, talk to them, ask if they have any incentives or can help in any way. And show up. Do not, if you schedule it, please try your best to show up, because there is a cancellation. There's a no-show. If you don't show at all, you're going to forfeit your whole fee. So just do your best if you can. We know things happen, but you can do it. Okay, so let's check in here. So we did talk about the most current exam news and stats, why to take the exam and who can take the exam, as well as how to apply, and our dates, deadlines, and fees. So now let's talk about the 2026 exam changes and move into scoring, passing rates, certification and regulation, continuing education, and then our Q&A. Okay, so let's talk about the exams here. The details of what is on each exam are in the blueprints. So these are your blueprints for a reason. They tell you everything you need to know regarding what is going to be on each exam. This is an example of the latest for the IDFX. All of the exam blueprints are based on industry analysis done every 5 years. So we are constantly updating and vetting, and NCIDQ does a great job of that to make sure that they're keeping up with the evolutions in design processes. These analyses study how the knowledge tested on the exam is used onto day-to-day application on the job. So we'll walk through these briefly, but you should download a copy of each of these for the exams that you're going to take each season. And one of the most common mistakes we see is not following the blueprint. Again, it's there for a reason. People often spend too much time on something not on their exam or skip over something on their exam. So really use those to help guide your study process, and we'll help you with that too. Okay, so the NCIDQ is made up of 3 exams. We have our IDFX, our IDPX, and our IDIX. So that was our formerly known as the PRAC. You must pass all 3 exam sections to earn your NCIDQ certificate. It does not matter the order that you take your exams. You just have to pass all 3. We have on QPractice our short links that will take you to the blueprints directly on CIDQ's website. The exam blueprints are based on practice analysis, which again is completed every 5 years. We do have a link for the key differences between the new changes for 2026 with the IDIX, so please take a look at that. Some of the main things to know is regarding the content. So this is now going to be organized by design phase. And they have removed BOMA, professional development ethics, and business structures, hoping that other entities are going to guide and implement those practices when you're working. So I know BOMA is was a very challenging portion of the exam, specifically for myself, and I know others. So it's kind of exciting to see that. But again, other things have been added. So regarding codes, IBC and IRC 2021 and 2017 and a 117.1 and related. So those are the codes that we're going to be focusing on. And again, these can be found in our short links. Regarding the question types, all of the question types on the exams are going to be vignettes instead of case studies, coming in fall 2026. Regarding administration, you can either do in person, but they now have remote options coming for all of the exams, which is incredible. All 3 exams will have multiple choice, hotspot, drag and place, and fill in the blank questions. There will be vignettes across all 3 exams.
I just want to jump in about the vignettes. They were supposed to go live this year. As of right now, they don't have them planned, but they will let us know. QPractice has vignettes, and we will actually demo and have a couple of those per exam in our workshops this year, so you'll have an idea of what those will be, but they're just questions where it's a similar group of information and apply to anywhere from 2 to 5 questions. So it's kind of like a mini case study, but we have those already, but they're, as of right now, they're not going to be implemented yet, but we'll give everybody plenty of notice should we find out they will be, and it probably at this point, maybe not until 2027. So the details on that, we'll let you know as they come out.
Yes, we will keep you posted, and again, provide those resources for you early on so that when they are available, you'll already be prepared. So all 3 exams are going to contain 15 pre-test questions. You will not know which ones are the pre-test questions, and these are used to help develop future exams. The IDFX, or Fundamentals exam, will be focusing on programming, conceptual design, and schematic design. It is designed for graduating seniors, recent graduates, which if you're a graduating senior or recent graduate, let us know in the chat, or individuals in the last year of a bachelor's or master's interior design program. The IDFX does not require work experience and is focused more on the book learning and academic information you have developed while obtaining your degree, which is why it's kind of nice to take this one in that if you are graduating or going to be, because it is very adjacent to what you would have been studying.
Yeah, if you can, take it while it's still fresh, because sometimes we see people who've been working for many years and they got to go back and take that after it's been a while. And it does require a little bit more work because they've got to pick up something, that it's been a while since they've been in school. So
it's hard to go backwards, yeah, when you're already out. The IDIX, or Implementation exam, focuses on the design development and construction documentation phases. And this is intended for individuals with at least 2 years of work experience. This, again, is the exam that was formerly known as the PRAC exam. The IDPX, or Professional exam, focuses on construction administration and project management phases. This is designed for individuals with a minimum of 2 years of work experience and focuses on the practical application of the knowledge you have from on-the-job exposure. And we see this a lot where people will take these exams and not necessarily have that work experience. And then once they start to get that work experience, it really does benefit them in their test taking process. So okay, I think I saw a couple questions about this in the chat. So CIDQ plans to offer all 3 exams remotely in the future.
FX now, yeah, they're doing it now. They did it this spring, so yeah.
So now they're all available, which again, if that's easier for you to take it at home, it makes it more available for anyone to take, which is great. So, and these are scheduled through Prometric. Okay, so exam results. Everyone wants to get their scores as high in the green as you can. On the right, you can see once you're in the green, you're in the clear. So preliminary scores were not available for the spring because it was a new exam, unfortunately. But the preliminary scores should be available for fall. So if you take your, are they available for all 3 tests, the preliminary scores, Lisa?
That's the plan, to have them now, because it's all computerized, all available, within like what usually is about an hour at the most that you'll get the results back, that you've taken it, your preliminary score. And then the final results come out in 6 to 8 weeks, but that's the plan. So this will be the fall will be the first time that they are doing that under this new exam. So
that's incredible. The waiting was the hardest part, certainly. So, okay. So final and official score reports, including those for the IDIX, again, were being released 6 to 8 weeks, but now we're having, our preliminary scores available sooner, which is great. And you can find those in your my NCIDQ account online. All 3 exams are graded on an 800-point scale, with 800 being a perfect score. 500 is going to be your passing point. The feedback on each section of the exam helps you assess your relative performance in each area. If you need to take the exam again, you'll know where to focus your efforts, which is really great. So you're not having to stress about where maybe you need to spend more time with your studying process. Bring your preliminary score sheets to our first members' office hours, and we will talk about how to better understand your results and take action. So we can really help unpack that for you.
And I'll jump in and give everybody a little, sneak peek, but we'll go into much more detail. But if you have your score report like this, and you go up to where it says test date, and where you can see the colon at the end of the word date, and you take a line, draw a straight line all the way down the page from that point, you want your scores to fall at or over that to help ensure that you're passing. So sometimes you'll have some that are past that point, and then you might have some that are below that point that are maybe into the yellow or light green or orange, and those are areas that you need to bring up depending upon the weight of those areas on the exam. So that's where you need to pick the blue trace out and put that number in as well. So we'll go through that in our first members only office hours for people who really want to break down and analyze their scores or compare scores from exam to exam, and that will help you. So.
And pay attention to, as Lisa said, the weighting. The blueprints, if you recall, have a percentage. One thing that's changed, especially for FX and PX, is the distribution. The old exam, there usually was one or two sections, domains they call them, that were much more important. Now it appears that they're all more equally weighted. So it just means you have to work to get everything, is what we call it, into the green as you can.
Mm-hmm.
So, but pay attention to them.
Okay, so let's talk about professionalism. Our NCIDQ certification tells people that you take your career seriously and you are committed to advancing, and that you're committed to the health, safety, and well-being of others. Many large firms require NCIDQ certification to be considered for promotion or senior positions. Not only that, but there's prestige with your certification. Your peers, both in interior design and allied professions, recognize and understand the level of effort required in achieving professional certifications, and this will earn you respect. In addition to that, job eligibility. In order to be considered for many government interior design jobs, individuals must be NCIDQ certified. And oftentimes, if you're applying for a job and you're against somebody else that has their NCIDQ and maybe you don't, then that may be the deal breaker between them getting the job and you don't. So it can be very helpful for new job opportunities. Speaking of opportunities, it will increase your opportunities. It will distinguish you from the crowd by demonstrating a specific set of core competencies supported by verified work experience and a college degree. And also leadership. If you look around at individuals assuming leadership positions within the profession and working hard for its recognition, growth, and innovation, you will find that the vast majority of them are NCIDQ certified.
Sometimes it's a corporate requirement that you be either NCIDQ at minimum, or that you be legally recognized if you practice in a state where legislation exists. So as you can see, it's really important.
It's really important. And a lot of the professional organizations require passage of the NCIDQ exam for professional status. You can join many professional organizations both as a student and as a practicing interior designer. All offer financial incentives to take and pass the exam and many other benefits. They are also leaders in advocating for legal recognition of the profession, and NCIDQ encourages you to consider joining them. The American Society of Interior Designers, or ASID, members receive their first year of professional membership free upon NCIDQ certification. Interior Designers of Canada, or IDC, offer a variety of scholarships and bursaries, including the Wayne Thompson Bursary, which is awarded to one or more NCIDQ exam candidates each year. International Interior Design Association, or IIDA, offers the opportunity to apply for financial assistance upon passing all 3 parts of the NCIDQ exam. So there are scholarships available too. So CIDQ does have a scholarship access program, an emerging interior design educator scholarship program. And this covers the fees. And we have had members in the past get awarded these scholarships, which is really incredible. So please take a look and please apply. And here's a few of our certifications, and it really is just a nice group to be associated with. It's kind of a community that we have everywhere. I know some of our members have run into each other at trade shows and throughout across the country, and so it's a nice network to have to be a part of Q Practice too.
One of our coaches, Bree, has become involved with IIDA. She works in the Boston area, and at IIDA functions, people have come up to her and said, "Are you that Bree from Q Practice?" So it sticks.
It does. It does. Okay, so when you earn your certificate, you will have to maintain a certain 5 hours of CEU requirements every year. So Q Practice does offer several CEUs for free each season, so they're not always free. So these are great to take advantage of as well. Take a look at our schedule. The next one is in August. And again, these are 5 hours of health, safety, and welfare focused annually. So every year you need to have these. CIDQ does audit. One of my coworkers did just get audited recently. So they are checking to make sure that you maintain those. And it's our responsibility to keep that current too. For licensed registered designers, your local continuing education requirement will fulfill CIDQ's requirement. Otherwise, you will need to independently complete and attest to completing 5 HSW continuing education hours each year during your renewal. So again, check back here for several CEUs that we offer for free. Okay, so we went through updating the most current NCIDQ exam news and statistics, the why, our why behind taking the NCIDQ exam, who can take the exam, how to apply, dates, deadlines, and fees, the new 2026 exam changes, scoring, passing rates, certification and regulation, as well as continuing education. And now I want to open it up for some Q&A. So let us know, what questions do you have?
Amy brought up something about the IDRM, the Interior Design Reference Manual, which a lot of people just call the ballast book. Unfortunately, there is no current reference textbook available that matches these new blueprints, especially with codes. So everything in the IDRM that references a specific code, like building, plumbing, accessibility code, is out of date. Now, that doesn't mean that the requirements have totally changed. It just means you would spend a lot of time looking everything up. There's still good information in a lot of them because there are aspects of the FX from school that don't really change. Their theory, like color theory, hasn't really changed. So you don't really, Lisa, right now we don't say that you need a textbook to study with us, do we?
Well, no, if you have one, you can use one. We really work to build out our lesson summaries to include more. And then if you want to dive deeper into a specific topic, then you can pull out your textbook. However, we will be working on a final update to the Key Practice NCIDQ exam guide, but we just put the other things first in terms of updating. It's a huge update this time, the biggest that's has happened since we've begun Key Practice. So it's been a massive overhaul. We've also added lots and lots of new questions. We're close to 3,000 questions now. We're going to keep adding more throughout the entire season. So my goal is to get us past 3,000 questions. I mean, I'm looking at each exam having a minimum of 3 to 4 to 5 times each question, the question per content area for all of those that are needed. So we'll be continuing to grow that. It's just, coming after like 5 or 10 years of having similar exams where things didn't change a lot into this one that's changed a lot, which just required us to redo everything almost from scratch. So we will have our book updated sometime this fall. And for people who have asked, we will update our audio as we make sure that our final lesson summaries are exactly how we want them. Some of them, we had a lot of good information last year on our feedback from some of our members is like, maybe it was too much. They wanted to have it a little bit, a lighter summary to go through on a day-to-day schedule. So we, pared back some of those. So those, no point in doing the audio until we, have it exactly how we want it. But I will do this, okay? And it's just like everything is, we can put it out. We have the old audio. Some of it's perfectly good. If it doesn't reference codes or something, it's the type of topics that don't change, but it won't match the lesson summaries. So I will probably put those together into a separate little playlist area where you can listen to them. It's just not going to follow along with the lessons because the lessons are all completely reorganized. So I do plan on bringing this back, and then our team is going to be recording new versions of that, and then we'll do it throughout the year, and hopefully we'll have that for you during the season. So.
All right. Heidi's asked if the PX and IX are better, easier than they were in the past. IX is totally new, so it's the prac exam doesn't exist the way the prac is. The big differences are, as Savannah said, there's drag and drop, marker, place, fill in the blank questions now for all 3 sections. In the past, FX and PX were multiple choice, pretty much only. So they're different. Are they easier or harder? No and yes. They're totally different. They're testing you on a totally different set of knowledge. There's a lot of things that may be similar to the old knowledge blueprint, but it's different. So don't think of them as easier or harder. Just understand that they're different. We provide you with all the tools, all the types of questions that you would encounter. CIDQ has examples that you can look at through their website that explain what a drag and drop is and what a marker question is. But we really work through that. And we've had some questions come into the help desk about the workshops, which we've got one for each test section. Those, we go through them and help explain how you can analyze them, how you can better select answers, how you can eliminate 4 choices down to 2, and things like that. So are they better? Are they harder? I wouldn't. Yeah. I wouldn't really.
Two people will see this. 2 people will see the same test or the same questions and have 2 different opinions. It just all depends upon you. I do think the big advantage to doing it this way on the new exams is IDIX particular. You don't have all of the resources for the case study that you've got to work on manipulating and moving around on top of, all of that and digging through lots of information to answer a question. Each question is sort of self-contained And then when they do introduce the vignettes, it'll be a smaller group of like a mini case study, and it'll be 2 to 5 questions, and the information that applies to all of those will repeat. And so we've been, setting that up, and we've got cases for a lot of different content areas. So we'll start demoing that, and then when we find out more about where they'll appear in the exam, the beginning, the middle, the end, or anywhere, or how many case, vignettes they'll do, we'll update ours. But so we'll keep everybody on top of it as much as possible. So and then Willa says, I keep hearing we need to watch out for trick questions. Is that the case? So when they do questions that you have a correct answer or the best answer, and there's always other answers that are considered distractors. So if you don't really know the topic, you might think something sounds correct, but it's not. And it's not that it's, quote, tricky. It's because you don't have a good knowledge of that in order to be able to select the best answer. So that would be one way explaining what you're talking about. It might seem tricky to one person. It might seem perfectly clear to somebody else. It all depending upon your experience with a particular area. So, but we walk through how to reason and how to look at the questions and think about them in the way that CIDQ is looking for an answer. And then, and also what exam you're taking. If it's IDFX, you're in a different phase of design than if you're IDIX. Okay, or then when you're in IDPX, so you might have a question about a similar topic and all, but you have to remember what phase of design am I in order to answer it correctly. So that's one thing to look at. So,
Arden, unfortunately, no. If you have the 3rd edition of the Q Practice NCIDQ guide, the 4th edition is totally different. So,
however, we still support that, and we still support the IDRM in our lesson summaries. We just tell you what chapters that you would want to dig into if you want to find more information on a topic. So the books aren't obsolete. There's just nothing that's updated to follow the new organization of the exam or the new codes yet. So I know that IDRM is coming in 2027, and I hope to have ours this season. So, all right. In the exam, Amatula has a question about the ICC codes. That's the IBC, the A117, IPC, the plumbing, and all of that. So yes, you are given a PDF that is searchable, that has the codes that are relevant to the exam that you're taking, so that you will have them. And then in Q Practice, what we do is we have links up at the top in our toolbar that you can open those up and use them while you study. And I highly recommend that even if you know the answer, you practice with looking up every code every time. And then that just helps to cement it in. And then you know how to find it fast too, because you know what section of the code you're looking in. So if you go to take the exam and you're like, I can't remember, or you're not sure, but you're already very familiar with the codes, then you can quickly find it. If you're not familiar with the codes, you're going to have a hard time. You don't have time to be looking at everything else for every question that requires code knowledge. So,
one thing to note with the A117.1, the accessibility code, a little side, the exam no longer references the ADA, so don't use it. All those great illustrations, you don't have access to. You only have access to text. So you need to understand the text, not just rely on images. And Amy, the reason why Lisa's put this up, Amy is a great member, and one of the things she constantly shares is have those codes open every single time you study, because every now and then you run across something and it's like, oh, wait a minute, where is that? How do I find it? When you do that, all the mystique about how to look through it and your memory of them increases tremendously. It's not rocket science. I mean, even somebody like the three of us, we have to look things up. You always use that if you have any question, but the big thing is on the exam, you don't really have time to hunt and peck and search. But by the time you're done, there's a lot of things that stick. You just know them, especially with those accessible requirements. Like, you know the height of a reach. You know what an accessible counter height is. Those things just stick. It's not scary.
I have something I want to pull up. Brooke, okay, so for documenting your work experience, CIDQ requires certain records for that, for them to validate it, but for also the work experience and the number of hours per design phase, like the chart that we showed early in the beginning, you have 200 hours of this and 300 hours of that. It's all required now. We do have a special tool in Q Practice. So if you are a Q Practice member, we just contact us and we can give you the URL for that. If you're not a Q Practice member, we can make you a login and then give you the URL for that, and you can track some that way. But that would be in addition to the number of hours that you need, you know, whether it's 3,000 to 5,000 that you need to be eligible. This is also hours per design phase that we're focusing on here. So reach out to hello@QPractice, and David, as those come in, just give them to me, and then I'll put the information for you and Duke so you can share that with customers in the future. But we do have a special form that you can put them in and save them. But we do need to create a login for you if you're not already a member. Okay? And all right.
Any other questions we want to go through? If not, post them in the study group. And we're sharing here again the CIDQ contact information. So Ray can answer most of your questions or direct you to the proper person. During the testing season, reach out to Cornelia. If you have any issues with your testing administration or facility, she will be your go-to for that.
Cornelia also handles the alternative review process. So if anybody here, as Lisa and Savannah shared earlier, if your education is outside of the US or Canada, she'll help you with all that. Anybody at CIDQ is very happy to help you. Whether you call them or you send them an email, they're there to help. They will answer all of your questions. And remember, they're the people that address all your eligibility issues. We don't.
Yeah. So for requirements about your application and being eligible to take the exam, you want to start with them and do that. And then, you know, from there, if you need work experience validation or whatever, they will assign you to a sponsor if you don't have someone. So start with them. And then we'll help you as we can on that. But some of that's like you specific information. They're the people that are going to analyze that for you. So
they also will be the ones handling any accommodation requests or information. So,
and you're, you know, all of the test registration, everything. So, and then this weekend, or actually Monday, our study hacks opens up to everyone. So if you want to sneak peek of our study group, is not our lessons and practice test, but if you want to, you know, trial our study group, you can see that. We're going to have that open for, I think it's like 2 weeks. And then from members, I'll probably open it up. If you're already in our study group, I'll open that up like this weekend for you. But we'll send out emails to everybody that's here today. We'll take your email, add you to our list, and we'll send out a notification if you want to join and take a peek at our study group. You can do that. And yeah, so that's just, the study hacks is a little mini course that's designed to kind of get you in the habit of participating in the group every day, because we have found that people that interact with others in the group and ask questions and share their knowledge and just participate, it is a form of doing. It's not just passive reading or listening or whatever. It's a form of doing, you know, and validating what you know and talking about it. And that's what's so important, to take what you read and turn it into something that you know. So it's about doing. So that's a very good way to get started.
That's right.
Yeah. Participation does matter. That's what Orla says. Participating matters a lot. Yeah. And we've always seen that people who are participating the most are always, we can watch. I can see who's going to pass their exam because they're the ones asking lots of questions. And then they start answering other people's questions, So, yeah, we can tell. There are people that lurk in the background that, that do well, but we'd rather have you participate. And it's a great way to, meet other people and study with someone else and share and learn because, the exam covers all types of market sectors, and you might work in healthcare or you might work in hospitality and you have somebody else in the group that works, workplace, office, and corporate design, and everybody can share different perspectives and how they do things on the job, and you can learn from each other. So the collective knowledge of our group is more than any one person. So it's a great place to be. All right. And this is what we do. We all lift up each other.
That's right.
So thank you everyone for joining us today. And for people who are already in our study group, we'll be around for questions later. If you're not, you can always send them in to hello@qpractice.com and we will get back to you with answers or direct you as to where to go. And then we'll send out an email with our replay on or before Monday, giving you instructions to join our study packs if you would like to do so. All right. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.
Happy Saturday. Bye.